Hey, everybody, and welcome to a very special little, somewhat change of our format here of "Gimme Back My Horror Movies," the podcast. I am Charlie, your host. With me, as always, is Nate. Say hello to the people, Nate.
Hello there.
Well, you didn't talk to him directly this time, so that's another step in the
No,
direction.
that was me doing my Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Is
Hello
that so?
there.
I'm Grievous now, huh? That's
Yes,
how
yes,
that's
you
going to
are.
work. Awesome. So I have to talk with a little bit of a rasp now. But no, we're not doing that for the rest of the show. So this
Kenobi.
is there you go. So this is a good, fun episode we're gonna have. We are joined by two gentlemen that are no strangers to the group or the podcast, even though we haven't heard them on here before. We have Bobby Easley and James Brenton. They are doing the movie Witch House. And gentlemen, why don't you say hello? Bobby, why don't you say hi, the director?
Hello, everybody.
And James, follow that up.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having us on.
Of course.
You're gonna have to bear with me a little bit. It's the first time I've done an interview, so this is a little bit different even for me. So, uh, I say these guys are no stranger to the group of the podcast because these are also the brain trust behind Poster Smash.
Yes.
That's right.
That's that's how I've known them. I met James first on Facebook. I found a smashed up poster that I thought was great. Somehow I shared it and he saw I shared it and we got talking and on Messenger and then friends and then it's been snowballed from there. And then found out there was another one. There was Bobby attached. So we've all been friends for, yeah, I think going on a year on Facebook.
Right.
And they even did the inaugural poster smash for the very first episode of Gimme Back My Action Movies that I do with Dan. And they made Mega Delta Force. And to this day, it is still the wallpaper on my phone. I have not changed it since James did it, and I don't think I will. I really, really want to get the poster made so I can hang it in my office.
See,
That's
the
what I
one
want.
that I need, and I actually need Bobby to make this movie a reality, is Ernest Goes to Sleepaway Camp. You're
Oh,
going to have to
yes.
dig up Jim Varney's corpse and make it
Yeah.
be a Weekend at Bernie's too. But
Yes.
if we do that, I think it'd be great.
Yeah,
I love
dude.
that. That's
We'll
awesome.
Felissa,
still need Miak in it, but yes.
Felissa is a great girl. She hangs at all the Days of the Deads. She's seen that poster and loves it. So
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. She's been promoted at quite a few shows down around here. So you guys do a lot of the conventions. That's how you've probably got a lot of your connections, right, Bobby? You've done some of the like Days of the Dead shows and stuff like that.
yes, started off just kind of attending it at that and Horror Hound, and really just fell in love with the community and being able to meet a lot of filmmakers and actors that I never thought I'd ever meet, and then just the opportunities JD and I've had, interviewing Carrie Henn from Aliens and working with Kane Hodder, Bill Moseley. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, I wanted to
Just
ask you, how did that come about with the Devil Dogs of Kilo Company?
I'm a big collector of toys, as you can see. And a friend of mine said, "Man, wouldn't it be cool if you could just make a movie out of all these guys?" And all the 12 point whatever figures are too much to really drive yourself crazy. And I thought, man, we could just scoot these guys around in the sand like, we used to as kids, then make a what if scenario. And I didn't even have a story. I just shot a real quick trailer just as test footage, and I put it together. Took it down to a Days of the Dead and Kane Hodder, Bill Moseley, Sid Haig. All those guys were totally interested in the project, and I walked away very scared. Like, wow, I've got letters of intent coming from these guys. Their agent's number. They're excited, and I don't have a story. So yeah, it was definitely fun shooting that laying around the ground, and just count. We shot over 40,000 individual pictures to make that film.
That's
Oh my
awesome.
gosh.
It's one of those like my buddy had a really good analogy for after he saw Mad Max Fury Road. He was like, it's like that movie was when I was playing with the action figures in my backyard. That was that movie. It came to life. Everything that was in my head as a kid, making my action figures smash together, was Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh yeah, I
So
mean, I had my GI Joes flailing back and forth on sticks in the yard, and vehicles flying up in the air, and
oh yeah.
I'm sure some fire was involved once in a while when mom and dad wasn't watching.
It was when
So
they weren't home.
that's it,
Well,
man.
the commercials were set up that way. You know, you see the Star Wars commercials, and they've got these kids playing with like a nice landscaped backyard, and
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the
it's
Nerf
like,
commercials were like, how do you guys have 10 friends? That was my thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nate. I just like how there's always a disclaimer. The action figures do not actually move.
Yeah.
These do
Yeah.
not actually shoot
Yeah.
real weapons. Oh, that's awesome, man.
Do you guys have anyone that you wish you could have met before they like passed? Like mine would be probably Gunnar Henson. Like that's one of the ones that's like I wish I probably would have gotten a picture with him or something before, he had passed away.
One guy that I've met Sigourney and all the guys in Aliens except for Bill Paxton. That is my number one favorite actor. Me and JD are always talking about him and Michael Biehn back and forth, and Bill Paxton. My wife and I were at a pancake breakfast, and I got teary-eyed when I found out he died. I was like, what? That guy, speaking about him real quick, you're a big fan of the 80s new wave stuff. Do you know he had a band called Martini Ranch?
No.
Yes, he and some of the guys in Devo
Oh.
you're excited.
Oh.
Yeah. Dude, and so the B-52s are in some of it, man. It's a total super group thing, and they actually got signed to Atlantic Records or something. Yes.
All
Martini,
right. Well,
yes.
I know
and
what
he
I'm going
is
to be listening to tomorrow when I'm at work.
Martini Ranch. You'll thank me for it.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be sweet.
I'm disappointed, Nate. How did
I've
you
been
not know that?
I did not know that. I've been bugging Charlie like we need to do Frailty at some point cuz like that
Yeah,
is an
I wouldn't call it
underdog.
bugging me. You mentioned it one time that
No,
you
I
would like
mentioned it
to
like
do.
3 times at this point, I feel like.
I don't know. Show me the receipts on that one. I don't know if I buy you on that one. James, let's
Yeah.
get you talking in this a little bit, man. What about what got you excited and involved in doing this stuff? Because you were correct me if I'm wrong, you're the director of photography,
Yes.
and you also did 90% of the editing.
I don't know. Bobby actually, it was a tag team effort with the editing. A lot of times we get done shooting, and this guy, we'd be done. It would be like midnight, and we'd all be packing up, going home, and then the next day he would show up, and he had edited half the stuff we shot the night before just so he could see the scene. And so he would actually lay out the story quite a bit, and then I would get the hard drive from him, and I would go through and
I got
try
you.
to
Nice.
basically I'd clean it up. I mean, I do a lot of editing and shooting anyway, so it was kind of one of those things where I'd go through and polish things after he put the story together.
Is it easy to do with like the digital technology these days to kind of like all right, let's just piece this together real quickly
Well,
to where you could stay up late like that?
to some extent, yeah. I mean, the one thing that we really learned is file structure. That if you have a good file structure,
I don't think
you
Bobby has a
can-
good file structure from the way that he's looking right
Bobby,
now.
Bobby just
People
hid
can't
his
see
head
it, but
completely.
he just hid in his hoodie like, I don't want to be here right now.
Yeah, it happens. But no, we got everything figured out. But yeah, I think, with the way everything is digitally now, as long as you keep everything, tidy, you could, in fact, go out, shoot, come back that night and pop together the scene that you shot. So you at least have a rough cut and ready to move on to the next day and see if you missed anything. And that's obviously, I think that's a pretty big benefit, for filmmakers now. I mean, it's so, I am, before we got on, and started recording, Nate, you said something about, how do you get involved in something like this? Well, how you get involved in something like that is somebody who's like super positive, who just knows he can get it done. Because I've been wanting to do, I've been wanting to shoot something forever. I've been in the biz, as they say.
Yeah.
But Bobby came to me and was like, "Listen, man," he goes, "I'm going to shoot this movie, and I want you to shoot it."
That's awesome.
And in the past, I have as much as I want to do it, I couldn't pull the trigger because I didn't know how to manage the time, still be able to work, still get enough people involved to show up on the weekends to shoot, and everything across the board. And if you just get enough people that are excited to do a project, and you get somebody that can back them up with that excitement, it helps snowball it. I the first day on set, I showed up, and to be honest, I thought I was going to see 6 people there maybe. And I showed up, and we have an entire group of people donating their time, to the weekend. And that community is something else. Like, I didn't even realize it was there.
Right.
So
No, that sounds awesome,
Nice.
man. So
Yeah, that does sound pretty cool, especially with I'm guessing a lot of people that have worked with one another before in the past, correct? Or is this a lot of like newcomers?
Yeah, we kind of know each other, through different circles. And I love bringing someone back on a project that did good. Definitely want them back because they've learned and they're bringing their skills back, and it just makes it
right.
so much easier.
Yeah, I always figured the film business being like it's all about networking. Who do you know? Who do you like working with? And
Well, we talked
keep
about
using
that
that positivity.
during the From Beyond episode where we read about Stuart Gordon, and he just kept wanting to work with the same people and just keep going. And even like that works in like the trauma industry is you get the people that know what they're doing. You don't have to retrain them for every single movie.
Yeah, and like Rob Zombie, he's a prime example. The chemistry's there already. These people have
Yeah,
been to hell and back, and they didn't tear each other's heads off. So let's throw something else at them and see if they can do it again. It's like
yeah.
a successful baseball team.
Well,
Well,
it's
yeah,
the Sam Raimi
yeah.
beating up all of his actors. If he keeps beating you up, that means he likes you.
That's
Yeah.
right. If he's ignoring you, you're not going to come back.
Yeah, Peter Parker's got to get hit by at least 15 book bags.
Yeah, that's it. Well, we've kind of jumped right into the interview section of this, but I want to step back 1 second and just kind of let our audience in on a little bit here. Um, these guys have done their own movie called Witch House. This movie isn't out yet; it will be out. We're speculating sometime summer 2022. We don't have exact dates yet, but we just kind of want to start getting the buzz out there. Let these guys start talking. So this episode is going to be spoiler free. We are not spoiling the movie. We're really not going to talk too much directly about the movie. We'll talk about small segments that doesn't give anything away, but this is going to be mostly about getting into the mindset that Bobby and James were in making this movie. I think it's a unique way to look at things and go, what were they thinking when this was starting? What was the mindset? What was the process? And we're trying not to be those boilerplate questions of did you have fun doing it? How much money did you make? When can I watch the
Where did
no?
you shoot the movie?
Yeah,
Do you
any
like movies? I like movies.
yeah,
You remember that time in the movie where that happened? That was awesome.
thanks,
Yeah.
Chris Farley.
yeah.
Yes.
I've got one of those questions though, but just leave me alone till I get to it. But I just want to let everybody know that this is going to be the Witch House interview, but this is really the interview with Bobby and James. And so I think what I really want to start off with first is if you guys are okay with it, let's go ahead and play the trailer now, so people can kind of get a mood for the movie that we're going to be talking about.
Get into the
Great.
vibe.
Perfect. So here is the trailer for Witch House.
I have to get out of here. He's gonna find me, and he's gonna kill me. I know he will. I went and talked to an old professor, and he told me that there's a place right by the campus where I can get a room and no one will find me. I'll take it.
Although your work does border on science fiction, I am intrigued by some of the connections you were able to draw between three-dimensional geometry and the way we perceive these things.
My advice to you girls is to stay away from that house.
My research is correct. It all adds up. It's like I opened a portal of warped reality. Something. I don't know what's happening to me.
Well, that was the trailer for Witch House, and I tell you what, if there's a trailer that sets a mood, it's that one. I remember when James shared this to me, and he's like, "Hey, man, can I share this in the group?" And I watched it, and I'm like, "Yeah, yes, please, yes, share away." And I
Awesome.
should mention something that James is kind of the reason we're doing this particular show right now. Is he messaged me one day going, "Hey man, you ever thought about a Give Me Back My Horror Movies group?" And I was like, "Well, thoughts crossed my mind, but never really put anything else to it." He goes, "I think it'd go off pretty good." I said, "Only if you help." And he's like, "Okay, I'll help." So he's an admin in it too, along with me and Nate. And it
Yeah.
kind of snowballed from that to where I was like, you know what? I think we need to do a podcast and branch out instead of the every 2 week action one. And Nate is our resident horror freak in the group of friends we have. I like horror, I enjoy it, but Nate is his room is covered with.
Yeah, I
We
was
were,
the
we
weird
were
kid that watched horror movies and listened to metal at all times and still does. So this was
I
just
did
pretty
that,
much
but
right up my alley.
I just did more action than horror.
Yeah,
I
you
still
just did
had to
more
do metal.
action.
Yeah,
I was the
but
kid that was wearing his Evil Dead shirt in the hallway that said like, "You have pretty skin, give it to us." Girls didn't talk to me.
I
Big
Yes.
I
shocker.
wonder why. I mean, I had the Ozzy Osbourne hitchhiking to hell T-shirt that I wore to high school all the time.
I
Teachers
had
didn't
my
really know how to take that shirt, but
my
I
Iron
enjoyed
Maiden
it.
shirts. I was a Rush kid also though, so I had like a Rush armband. So big nerd there.
That's awesome.
Girls
Well,
didn't understand anthrax.
no, no,
No anthrax.
No.
girls didn't, parents didn't.
This guy's lucky with the Def Leppard, though. They're like, oh, we'll go to the show with you.
Oh yeah, Def Leppard, Journey.
Oh.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's what we call safe rock. They feel
Yes.
safe with the guy that listens to that.
Yeah.
But those of us that listen to Slayer and all these
Yeah.
other the title of the band was scary enough for them. They're like, no, oh, no, I don't listen to that. That's Satan.
You know
we
how
don't do
fun it
that.
was to yell Slayer at any moment.
Yes.
Oh, it's just a good time. All right, Nate, I think you have a few questions for our guests,
I got like
and
3. I didn't prepare for
yeah,
this.
I doubt that. We've
Yeah.
already gone over them. We'll pull back the curtain here. I'm giving Nate a little more rope this episode, so we'll see what he
Spotlight.
does with it as the
You're
show
gonna
goes
regret
through.
this.
All
Ugh.
right.
Well, I'm gonna start out real easy. We want to know how you two met. How did you two decide to start working together?
I do a lot of commercial and television work, and I happen to do some work for
A company that I was doing some freelance for. They hired Bobby to act in one of their videos as a corporate video. And we worked together for the whole day. And it wasn't until the end of the day that we were kind of wrapping up and started chatting about movies. And, immediately when I talked to this guy, he's like, his brain is just sucked in all this 80s, and 90s horror and action movie just knowledge into his head, and he almost talks almost entirely in movie quotes sometimes. And we really hit it off, and I asked him, because he was doing acting for the company I was working for. I said, well, do you act in like independent movies or something like that? And he kind of went, well, yeah, but I also shoot and write independent movies. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Really? And we just kind of started talking about that. And he was telling about some of the projects he was working on at the time. And, you know, it wasn't until.
No, I think he's sitting in like this NASA control room of an editing suite, this company. And I'm like, wow, man, I'm just thinking, he's like, I made a horror spot for a local haunted house. And so he showed it to me, and I'm like blown away. Like, dude, this looks like so grindhouse, scream, blood, splatter. Like, this is badass. And then I could see, well, obviously, and then we had a mutual friend, Terrence Muncie, a guy that we both knew. And it would just, and then I think a period of time went by where we didn't really talk, but just kind of
life got in the way, as they say.
But we planted the seed that day, like, man, we should work on something at some point. And then I came up with the idea for Witch House after finishing Devil Dogs and a couple other films. And then I talked to him on the phone, and it took a little prodding. I'll be honest. He was not totally sold on the idea of the whole demonic possession, the witchcraft. It was like some pretty strong themed stuff,
Oh, when you watch this movie too, I think you guys nailed it on the dark occult themes, because once this movie starts to let loose, it freaking lets loose.
Yeah,
nice.
But I think it's so then, like, he said he wasn't like interested, and then it's like that scene in Aliens. Here we go, where Ripley wakes up in the middle of the night and puts the chip in there, and she talks to Burke and says, "We're going there to kill, not to bring back, not to." Yeah, and it was kind of like that. He's like, he punched the chip, and he's like, "We're gonna go and shoot this movie," and yes, sir. And I was like jumping for joy. We got JD on the set, and I think he probably fell in love with everything we were doing probably that first day. But
yeah, it was.
Nice.
It was like I said, when I showed up that first day, the camaraderie. I walked in with a little bit of anxiety because I only knew Bobby on the first day of shooting, and these people, some of them, they'd all worked together before, and here's this new guy who just kind of shows up, and I'm like, listen, I'm shooting this thing. And so in my head, I was a little, but everybody was so welcoming in that community that it was just immediately, I was like, oh, okay, let's do this.
That's because I can see where it'd be scary too, of like, oh, who the hell's this new guy?
Right.
Like, what gives him the right to be here as opposed to my buddy Frank or something?
Well, I think all that went out the window. That he's the new kid in class went out the window when we have intricate lighting setups, and the way his mind works, brilliant. Like, for what we're trying to pull off, that Suspiria look, heavily inspired with different colors to represent.
That makes
different
so
dimensions.
much sense now that you say it.
That's what came across watching this. Matter of fact, one thing I told James, because James, he sent me the link, and life gets in the way. James knows I got 3 kids. He's got a full house at his place, and he's like, "Hey man, did you have a chance to check it out?" And I'm like, "I haven't yet." And then he's like, "Let me know the second you do." And I messaged him back going, "Holy crap, dude, that was a beautifully shot movie." I mean, if nothing else, I'm like, the visuals, and that was saying a lot. And James and I have been talking a lot leading up to this, and I was like, I just watched From Beyond, which was based on H.P. Lovecraft, and the imagery and color saturation in that film. I told James, I can watch that movie without any dialogue. Just play the movie with the sound, sound effects. And I'm watching Witch House going, holy crap, it's the same feel. Like, I feel and Suspiria is the right. I didn't know the name of the movie, but that is exactly what it felt like watching it. Beautifully, beautifully shot. So let's talk real quick, since we've kind of led into the movie just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
What was your why Witch House? Why H.P. Lovecraft?
Well, I think I cut my teeth writing my first couple films, and I realized that I'm not a strong writer. My strength is to get, like JD said, a group of people together. It's my Marine Corps past. I can get 5, 6 people and say, let's go build a bridge over here in the middle of the snow, and somehow tell enough jokes, and by the time we're done, the bridge is built. But I didn't
Rally
really
the
have.
troops.
I can rally troops and keep. That's my strong point. But I lacked the writing skills, and I lacked the technical aspect of it that JD brought to the table. And so I thought, I actually my third film, I was chosen by Stephen King to be in his Dollar Baby program. That's where he will sell you the non-exclusive rights to one of his short stories that was never made a picture out of for $1.
Oh,
And yes, and you're allowed to use it on your resume to help pump yourself up, but you can't, make any commercial, gain from it.
Gotcha.
And so I thought, well, damn, that's a good place where stories are at. I thought I had some pretty good success with that when I just didn't have to worry so much about the story. And then I was thinking about Lovecraft and how, well, actually, I met Brian Usna at a film festival in New York. And Brian Usna is behind Reanimator
Yep.
and From Beyond, all that good stuff. And so he and I struck up a friendship, and he said, before you work on your next picture, I want you to consult with me. He took my pictures to Cannes at the time, and he says, we're going to start from ground zero next time to get a successful picture. And I'm like, all right. And so I started thinking, well, this guy did a lot of Lovecraftian stuff, and a lot of Lovecraft's works are, well out of it. It's a very gray area, but people have been making adaptations for years of his work.
It's not exactly public domain, but it's like you said, it's in that gray area that it can allude to something he wrote, basically.
So, and this is one of his stories, The Dreams in the Witch House. I thought, wow, it's one of the stories that isn't so far blown in outer space where we would take us millions of dollars of a budget to pull this off. This is something that's more in the vein of things I'm into, like Halloween and witches and just kind of that creep factor type. I do a lot of heavily like satanic, demonic, just stuff that people are kind of scared of,
Really,
and
I didn't get that in this movie at all.
okay.
Totally missed the mark.
What?
Okay,
There's a
Yeah.
demon in this?
there's no sarcasm font. There is a lot of demon in this movie.
There's a lot of uncomfortableness in this movie.
Yeah, and so I think that's where the Lovecraft came into it, because when I mentioned to Brian Usna that I wanted to do something, he says, "Oh, Lovecraft! Now that's right up his alley. He's more than glad to help us." Then,
So, well, that explains that. And so, this isn't like a word for word retelling of it. So, what was the writing to make it yours like?
Well,
What did you want to do that wasn't just copying the book scene for scene?
well, before I started writing my first word, that's what he wants, is to be there when we're digging the hole. And so
Okay.
uh, he says, let's take the lead, Walter, and flip it to a woman, make it a female lead. Let's take the romantic interest and turn it into a lesbian kind of relationship. Let's make the house the central character, like, because you have all the witchcraft and the coven stuff going on, but then at the same time, this house is just emanating evil. And
See, and I was
Brian,
wondering about that too, because like I know it's a lower budget film. I was like, were you using the house as a character to play into your creativity, into your story?
yes, Brian, when we're originally going to use some farmhouse that had like a tiny little attic room that we were going to do this in, and he thought, there's no way you can pull this off. You won't be able to get cameras and lighting, and it just would be a mess. And then JD and I were hunting around for some historical properties, and like,
Yeah, and I had actually shot footage at the Hannah House is where we shot.
Yeah.
And it's called the Historical Hannah House, and they've had some, they used to do a lot of haunted houses there during October, and they do tours and ghost tours and stuff like that. And I had shot there, and I thought, well, I never really got to meet the owner at the time. I was just brought in, shot some stuff real quick, and left.
Yeah.
But I threw it out to Bobby. I was like, I know you know how to talk to people. This guy could sell ice to an Eskimo. And I was like, you got to go reach out to them and see if you could find any out, because I'd found another place, but it was too far out in the middle of nowhere. And they weren't willing to let us get in the house. They were willing to let us shoot around it, but we were going to have to find 2 different areas. And I believe that's how you ended up stopping by there, or
Yeah, the guy, the house was built in 1885, and it's rumored to have been part of the Underground Railroad. And some slaves, the story goes, were locked down in that basement, and a fire started, and they couldn't get out. And so the secret they had to hide was to bury those slaves, in unmarked graves. And so that's kind of, throughout the years, there has been stuff and just newspaper articles, and people have claimed all sorts of things. And the caretaker, Scott, has been asked by many channels, Travel Channel, all these people, to do spots on it. He's told them all no. And for some reason, crazy... Well, here's how it happened. I didn't sell him...
Let us in on the secret.
I didn't sell him the ice box yet. I sold him some ice. I said, can we come and do a couple shots? A couple exterior shots, because we thought this guy clearly won't let us use the entire house, but if we can just establish, and go somewhere. Yeah. And so he said, well, you guys are more than welcome to use the inside of the house if you'd like. And we're like, okay, cool. Well, this guy thought a couple shots, like a tripod with a camera. Shots. Oh no. He's sitting there the day we start, principal photography broke ground. We're showing up with racks of clothing, groceries, table reads. People are walking in, electrical department. I mean, we've got just computer. Everything is set up, cameras. He said, you guys said a couple shots. You guys are like moving in. And,
Yeah, what started out as a weekend shoot, we ended up just
3 years.
Well, yeah, but it was we had to. He kept talking him. Listen, we got to come back and get one more shot. We got to come back and get another shot, and we were able. He, for whatever reason, God bless him, he would let us come back, and I think it was the fact that after that initial weekend, we left the house exactly how we found it.
There you go.
There were no we made sure we took care of stuff.
And this guy has been the caretaker there since he was like 16-something years old. He is well into his mid-60s, I'd have to say.
So this is essentially his baby, his house.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
and so
I can get that.
He's gotten older. It's about 40. I don't know how many acres it is. I don't know. So anyway, there's fields, all sorts of stuff, and we just volunteered to help him take care of the property. As long as we're shooting here, and well after we've shot in there, we go and blow the leaves, pick up the sticks, mow the lawns, help him with the gutters, just giving back,
Oh, that's awesome.
Dude, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
You hear horror stories, no pun intended, of productions going in and almost just ravaging the places they've shot. And you hear of the madness that they can cause, and why people will be like, no, you can't shoot here. We did that one time. No, you can't shoot here.
He was people getting the house kind of falls into disrepair, and he was a little down on himself, and then us coming around kind of re-sparked his interest in having a paranormal day. And the owner says, you can keep that place open as long as those property taxes don't get too high. And he's always concerned about it. And this year we helped him host a paranormal day, and then we showed our film and charged $30 a seat for it.
Yeah, I think so.
And gave him every penny, and so we knocked out most of his property taxes for the year.
That's
sweet.
Just fantastic. I love that.
Yeah. That guy didn't charge us $1.
Yeah,
for renting the place, and we were there 16-hour days, in and out, using heating and cool, lovely guy. Couldn't think of him anymore.
Well, staying on the house, I'm a builder, carpenter, all this other stuff. So that is the attic in that house that you guys were shooting in the Hannah.
Oh yes.
Oh, so yes. Then I gotta ask this.
Yeah. So you had pretty much written this story leading up to getting the property, But when you see that attic and how it's constructed, that fit your movie perfectly. The angle she talks about, and again, we're spoiler free here, but basically she is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but she believes there's a connection between the geometry of the house and a portal almost to another dimension, another existence of being, correct?
Yes, yes.
And she goes up, she goes there to stay thinking she's going to get a room. She gets put in the attic and she goes up, and you would think like there's no way I'm going to stay in this attic. It's dirty, dusty, and there's nothing up there.
Right.
And you start seeing how the roof structure is built, and she's looking at it, and I'm watching this movie going, holy crap, did they build this thing to match the movie? What, this can't be just we found a house that looked like this and we shot the movie. And I'm hearing we found a house that looked like this and we shot the movie up there.
Yeah, we really did. We lucked out when we went up to you know, the attic. When we got there, I'd been in the attic once before, when I was shooting, and I remembered it, but it wasn't until, you know, I we got back up there that second time and got up there, and I was like, oh my gosh, this literally is what we were looking for. I mean, as far as the lines and the, you know, and so it worked out very well.
It was perfect. I mean, you could have planned it. You could have found the house first and then wrote the story, and I would have believed you because I would have been like, "That's exactly the structure." Reading the story, or even if I was privy to reading your script before ever seeing the movie, of how she's talking about all of the way these angles have to join together in a certain way. The house is built was built for a purpose of the occult, and you watch this movie and you're like, "Yep, that attic is occultish. I
Oh
believe
yeah,
that a
it's a
demon's gonna
creepy ass
come take
attic.
me." Perfect. Bravo on that, guys. I mean, that's,
Thank you.
Thank you.
and I know how much of a pain in the ass it is to build a place like that with that many freaking angles. To where I'll be like, "Nah, man, I'm gonna go build a box." But
Brian,
that was,
Brian Usna told us, he says that house will never work for you guys for the film. He says it's too nice of a property. Those people won't let you use it. And the man let us use it. And then Brian Usna's like, now that changes everything. And I will add that the reason it took us so long to get this baby done is because we're shooting stuff that, as you know, filmmakers at our level, we would have accepted and moved on and said, hey, we'll try better next time, or this is where the story got us. And Brian and John were just going through the story, ripping it apart, saying, reshoot this, reshoot this. It was literally like we had producers in Los Angeles, which we do,
Yeah.
telling us, nope, 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 we're shooting stuff, editing scenes, and shipping it to Los Angeles. And they're saying, you just didn't establish this, or we didn't get the correct reaction, or I don't believe it, reshoot it.
Right.
And
whoa.
it was that, yes. And I remember my initial conversation with Brian Usna. He says, Bobby, I will help you, but when I ask you to do something, to do it. And because a lot of filmmakers are like, oh, this is my project and no one's going to tell me.
Yeah.
And we very, very humbly have accepted everything those guys have. I mean, there's some crazy old dudes for the films that they've made. and we've just followed what they've told us to do.
And the good thing is, in all fairness, you know, we've had multiple Zoom meetings with them, and they will tell us what didn't work and what did work. But in all fairness, unlike, you know, studio execs, they were like, listen, this is your film, but this is what you guys need to do. Because, I mean, in all honesty, there was a couple things that Bobby and I talked about and went, you know what? It wasn't going to be to get everybody back there, to fly the actress back in, or to do this. It just wasn't going to work.
Right.
You know, and I've said, and you know, the story, that's when we started, you know, taking their stuff, their ideas, writing some new scenes and switching things around a little bit. Oh, okay, well, let's do this. That way we don't have to fly this person in, or that way we don't have to get this other person in. We can take this, move this here, and now we'll do a scene with this person who is local or who is available to come.
Yeah.
And you know, with that, you know, it was it was frustrating.
I mean, it's a short story, and we're trying to stretch it to a feature-length film.
It's like what, 47 pages, I think.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we thought we shot a monster of a film, and you're like, it's too short. It's too short. You're gonna have to either shelve it or develop some more subplots. And
there's even stuff that at least for me, that we didn't get to do. One, whether it be budgetary, or once we started doing other shots, like that no longer, whether it was the timing didn't work or we couldn't get to that scene because we were doing something else. It's funny in a production like this how big it gets. Even though it's an independent film, it got big, and it was hard to manage some of the stuff that we were trying to keep everything together cohesively as a story. And then you're getting your feedback from people, and we got to shoot this, or we got to shoot that, or whatnot, or we got to make this fit. And once you start doing that, and I actually heard Linda Hamilton talking about this on a podcast with the most recent Terminator. There gets a lot of frustration because for her in the latest Terminator, she would show up on set and they were writing stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like, wait a minute, this is a Terminator movie. You don't have a script yet?
Yeah, how are you not prepared for Terminator?
Yeah, and so you see this, and you don't. I have a totally, from movies that I actually did some PA work stuff back, early 2000s, for a low budget film with Corbin Burnson and D. Wallace Stone, and I was I was just a PA out in the middle of nowhere dragging sandbags around and stuff. But with that in mind, and what we accomplished here, I have a whole new respect for even the crappiest of movies, because you look at the end of it and you're like, these people they really worked hard on this.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that goes into it. And sometimes you can't get stuff done right, and you have to make it work. And I think, that was the one thing that like Bobby said, he's a good cheerleader. I am not an optimist, and he knows this. So he would have to, drag me back every now and then and go, dude, come on, we can do this. Get back here.
It's the perfect mix because I've been told I have that childlike optimism. That's charge the hill, Marines, let's go. It doesn't matter. And then JD would say, man, that's not going to work, or that's not going to work. And I'll say, and I would so bullishly say, yes, it will. Let's go bring the cameras. And then he'd say, all right, it's your movie. And then I'd be like, wait a minute now, hold on. Okay, we don't want to
I'm wearing him down.
Okay, wait a minute. Now that just, it's kind of like when the wife says, go ahead and play cards with them. Go ahead. You're like, that's not what you really mean. But yeah, I think it was a perfect balance because you got to have that creative and the technical side or at least all these crazy ideas wouldn't make it on screen and wouldn't be able for you guys to enjoy,
Well, I want to. James brought up an interesting point, and it's one of those things that I found more doing a podcast talking about these movies of the 80s and 90s. When I'm researching them, you find out sometimes the studios got overly involved and almost destroyed a movie. Matter of fact, we just did Showdown in Little Tokyo and found out how badly they got involved, and it's nowhere near the movie it should have been. It barely even made it into a release. And hearing you guys talk about even just on an independent level having to send something to someone, not so much that they were paying for it. So it's like you guys could have listened there or not listened. Brian probably could have just went to the point of, well, y'all aren't listening to me. There's no
You're
sense
on your
in
own.
sending it. Yeah, don't send it to me anymore. But you wanted to foster that kind of working relationship. So it's like, well, let's take a little bit of his advice. But at the end of the day, I'm sure Brian's like, it's your money, it's your time. You choose what you put onto the final product. And I'm liking that more and more in some of these independent films that we've been watching, or low budget, even that maybe weren't quite independent, but that they just said, yeah, we can do this, and they end up doing it. So it was kind of a little different look on what James was talking about that I was liking on that. But and I totally feel Bobby on the we can do anything, and then you have the guy behind you saying no, we can't, because I can appreciate the working relationship that you kind of have with someone. Because if you guys didn't have any kind of friendship or anything, you probably would have just thrown something at each other and been done for the day.
We wouldn't
You know,
have
it's
him on
like,
the
yeah,
podcast right
I'm
now.
done. You know, go find someone else to shoot it, or go find another movie to shoot. I'll go find someone else to help me. But I like that. I like that it's kind of a brotherly kind of thing, and I get that because my brother, he's up in Ohio right now, and this is the off week for the action movie podcast. I get the younger brother Nate, who
Yeah,
is
you do.
overly optimistic. We call him the
Yes.
puppy dog of the group because Nate's always upbeat, ready for anything. And if I told him something, he'd be like, "Sounds like a good plan. Let's do it." I
Yep.
love it.
I'm always positive reinforcement there for you, buddy.
Let's I think it's a good point to just go ahead and take a quick commercial break, let everybody catch their breath a little bit. Nate still has quite a few
I
questions
got a
to talk
million
about.
questions.
Not quite a million, everyone. This isn't going to be a 4-hour podcast because
I don't have a million questions.
Nate has Betty by time. We all know Nate has to get to bed. So we're going to play commercials, and we will be right back.
Hey, this is Jimmy Street, host of the Live and in Color with Wolfie D podcast. Here are the life and times of professional wrestler Wolfie D. From his times in the territories with PG-13 to his times in WWE, ECW, WCW, TNA, and more. Nothing is off limits and nothing will be held back. Available now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all major podcast formats.
Welcome to the Monster Movie Stomp Down, where twice a month we review monster movies from all corners of the planet. Join me, Sludge.
And I went to watch it the other night, and she's like, "Why are you watching this? You can quote this movie line for line." That's very accurate.
My co-host, Mark.
Don't ask me to do a stomp down on this because it's 0. Okay, dude.
Ruben, what's your stomp down rate?
And our brother from Texas, Ruben.
It's just, I'm like, wait a minute. They tricked me into watching this.
Yeah, that's what I felt like.
As we give you the history, our review, and the stomp down rating of some of the best and worst monster movies around. Available through the Podbean app, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Amazon. Make sure and check us out on Facebook and Instagram.
Just how drunk are we gonna get?
Welcome to Good Beer, Bad Movie Night, where each month we drink finely crafted brews while watching terrible films in order to see just how drunk you have to get to enjoy them. So tune in and join Troy.
Killboy Kreitz.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Thank you.
Dave.
I have the weirdest boner.
And Pete. IPAs are ales, meaning they are bottom fermented. Excuse me, they are top fermented. I that up. Try that again. As we drag Kathleen,
Hear me.
kicking and screaming through an alcohol-fueled podcast dedicated to movies of questionable quality and the frosty adult beverages that help make them tolerable. Good Beer, Bad Movie Night. Clearly, it's the beer's fault.
Quick little commercial break before we get that out of the way, because Nate and I have a bad habit of forgetting it once in a while. So we're going to jump.
Exist.
Yeah, well, it's our network. We can play it whenever we want. Let's jump back into it, Nate. I think you've got a few more questions you want to ask the guys, and let's just keep this going. I'm having a blast tonight.
Yeah, so this is pretty cool because you're talking about the house and the 1800s. Are you guys believers in the supernatural?
I don't know if I could speak for JD, but I was raised Roman Catholic, and I'm a deeply faithful person. I've seen things in my life happen that I knew that there was a hand in it somehow. Like, whether it be something that I can't believe we're safe, or I can't believe that this happened, or the coincidences. So I believe there's something out there, and it's those that are more in tune to it are going to be more open to it. Like, I'm really into Native American spiritualism and the outdoors, and when you see a hawk flying over, there's a message for you that day. You know that things are going to be okay. I do believe in it. I just want to, like, movies like this. It kind of inspires me to like open people's minds up to the possibilities of it really being true. You know.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
I agree to you do have to be kind of open-minded to have it happen because like obviously like I've done ghost tours and ghost hunting and all that fun stuff and it's like if you kind of go into it BSing it and like laughing and stuff, you're not really going to get any results. But if you go in with that open mind of like this is kind of what I'm looking for, I'm going to take this serious. Like it's kind of amazing what ends up happening. I went from being someone that's like, you die, it's not, that's it, to like I went to insane asylum and did a ghost hunt, and it was just like, oh, well, my whole worldview's been completely like turned upside down because that was terrifying, and now I don't know what to believe. So, no, I get that.
So you could potentially be a ghost that just relives the exact same moment the rest of existence.
Yeah, actually, I Jacob's laddered like probably 3 years
Jacob's
ago.
laddered that.
I Jacob's laddered.
What about you, James?
You know, I've had some. I would say I'm a skeptic, but I've had some things happen that I don't know how to explain. You know, I'm as far as the paranormal goes.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking. You know, and I've done some ghost tours, which are great. I did one at Waverly.
I'm still waiting to do Waverly.
And that was I had a couple just small things down there that I was like, oh, well, that's weird. That you don't really know how to, you know.
It's hard to process because like
explain.
I did a Trans-Allegheny out in West Virginia.
Okay.
And that was an insane asylum that was built before the Civil War. And you're talking, I think they had like over 60,000 people die in this building. And like it's just an immense sadness that you feel when you're in there. And in the women's area, like I heard a female yell at me, just like a full-on scream, like in the hallway. And like
you're
I'm getting
used to
goosebumps
that
now.
90% of the time, though.
I am used to it, and like that was one of the most like bone-chilling things I think I've ever experienced because it's just like that's not supposed to happen. Like there's nothing in that room, and it just yelled. Like,
well,
no,
we actually had something happen during filming.
Yes, that's what I wanted to know.
That's where this question was leading.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't. None of us really know how to explain it. But there were 9 of us in the room, so it's probably midnight, at least, if not later. And we were shooting in one of the rooms of the house, and it's a scene. It's a big empty room, and we're shooting this scene, and we got our audio guy.
Tell him the scene we were shooting.
Okay, so the scene. Well, do we want to? Is that okay if we tell? There's a scene with the witch and Alice, and they're on the floor, and the witch is crawling across the floor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so it's a big empty room, and Toby is our audio guy, and he's getting set up. I'm getting set up, and as we're just getting ready to start rolling, we hadn't started rolling yet. There is undoubtedly a baby crying. And I stopped. Toby has his headphones on, and he's like, does anybody hear that?
No, I kept hearing it, and it was kind of like getting on my nerves a little bit. You know how like adults that have been around kids, you can tune out kids crying?
Oh yeah, really easy.
You just kind of tune it out. And I was trying to like set up the shot, and I just keep hearing this, and it wasn't like in the room with us. It was like if it was on the outside of the other wall. And I said, I didn't even tell him what I heard. I said, Toby, are you picking that up? And he took off his headphones and said, a baby crying? And as soon as he said, I did not coach him or tell him anything of what I heard. Right. He told me what I heard. And then everyone froze.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not even processing that there shouldn't be a baby crying. You're just sitting there going, why is there a baby crying somewhere? Not, oh shit, there shouldn't be a baby here anywhere that I can hear.
And then once it got frozen silent, a baby kept on crying. And we're all like, what the hell? And there was no logical explanation because there's no way that if a baby was out that late at night, there'd be a car door shutting, there'd be a light, a car pull, a parent, something, everybody on the side of the road. But it was just it was a Sunday, so
Nobody
there was
brought their
nobody.
baby on set.
Right.
No, and so we were literally so tired that we said, "Do we all agree we heard that?" And we all said yes. And we said, "Let's keep going." We were so exhausted we didn't even get to be scared.
Well, like, can we work around the baby crying? Yeah, I think we can.
Finally, it dissipated.
Right. So now we're going to ignore Ghost Baby, just like we ignore regular babies.
Oh my God, that's awesome. See, now, Nate, that was a great question that led into this.
Now, I also need to know, because there's a lot of symbolism in this movie and different symbols and whatnot. Did you guys accidentally summon a demon? Was there like a consultant on standby in case you had a whoopsie?
Yes, we have some of our friends and associates are involved in Wicca, and they're involved in witchcraft, like the positive, protective, sage burning.
I was going to say, is there a lot of sage being burned on set?
Palo Santo, sage, all that good vibe stuff going on. And when I wrote it, like some of the incantations, I would take some Latin from the Necronomicon and then add some cool words, and we would jumble it up to where we weren't saying anything that was going to have any major.
I feel like that's how an accidental summoning could happen.
Right, yeah. You've seen Evil Dead, right?
Yeah.
So,
Klaatu.
Is there supposed to be a dot over that eye or a mark? I don't know. Just put it in.
Was it that cabin in the woods where the guy kept going, stop reading the words that are in Latin?
Yeah, stop saying
we
it.
really shouldn't be reading these words.
You get a really eerie feeling in the house when you're by yourself in certain rooms, especially the attic, and it's like you would dread being the last person to have to go up there and get something.
Oh, yeah.
No buddy system. You need a buddy system in those kind of movies.
Dude, there's so many flights of stairs that literally, you've got to go up a good one long. It's to get to the top. It's 2 very long flights of steps, and that's from the ground level to the attic. And if someone forgets a radio, or if we need a filter, or if we've moved everything up there and then we're done for the night, somebody's got to go up there and make sure all the windows are closed.
Yeah. Nope.
Yep, that's that. Nope.
See what I'm saying?
I do not volunteer streaming.
You're talking about pitch blackness. Like,
yes.
That is a very uneasy feeling. Same thing happened at Trans Allegheny, because I was like on the 4th floor, and like each floor you got like 2 hours to be on, and by the time it was the 4th floor, I was like, I was up there for maybe 30 minutes. I was like, I gotta go back. Like, there's something so uninviting up here that I can't be up here any longer. I was like, whatever it is, because they had a giant fire in there that killed a bunch of people. I was like, there is just nothing but remorse, sadness, and hatred up here. I was like, I can't do it. I was like, I gotta get out.
Dan doesn't do like horror movies, and he'll never watch this movie, but he's also the guy in the group that's also like, I'm not going in that room. And I'm like, why? He goes, just not going to do it. Doesn't feel right. I've been to places with him, an older home in Columbus, and it was a I don't want to say junk shop because I don't want to insult anyone, but basically it was a junk shop, and there was an attic where it was just like flea market stuff up there. And Dan's like, I'd been there. She had toys. Well, some of the toys got moved into this little closet room. Dan stepped in there, stopped, turned around, and came back out. And I'm like, nothing in there? He goes, I'm not going back in there. I'm like, what? He goes, not going back in there. I walked in, there's toys. Okay, cool. I'm looking at stuff, and I'm looking at him, and he's just staring at me. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? He goes, there's something else in that room, and I'm not coming back in there. He's like, I couldn't understand what he felt or saw, but Dan's as big as me, and he's like, I'm not going back in that room. That's not happening. No.
Sometimes you just get this gut feeling. You can't explain it, but it's just like, you know what?
I said,
I'm
okay.
gonna listen to my gut.
It's kind of funny because I have this, morbid curiosity, if you will. The caretaker of the house, the last couple of times we've been up there to do stuff, he's come up to me and was like, so when are you going to stay here by yourself all night? So he's asked me 2 or 3 times to come up and stay there. And I have been really close, but I just haven't pulled the trigger on his invitation yet.
One one of the other guys and I had to go get some establishing shots one night, and this is in the fall when there's all these leaves. They're all dry and crunchy on the ground. So you can just hear every little sound of leaves.
Yep.
And it had gotten dark, and the wind was blowing so hard that it dropped a branch, and that branch hitting those leaves made me think it's some demon just because you're already. I mean, our sound equipment, we would go through $20 in batteries a day because it drains batteries. Paranormal energy.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. I did not know anything about that until we started shooting there. And remember that?
Yeah.
It was like the big packs of Duracells at the supermarket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those a day, burning through them in the audio equipment.
I've had personally a brand new flashlight right out of the package burnt out instantly. Like the light bulb burnt out and the batteries were dead instantly. All
It's
from
something
like
about
going into a certain
batteries.
room, asking that one question, and it sucked all the energy out and destroyed the flashlight.
Well, I think Nate's inadvertently created a new show, which is "Give Me Back My Paranormal Activity,"
which is actually me not wanting to deal with the paranormal activity, but I'm so curious about it.
Nate just can't stop talking about it or going towards it, even though we tell him not to.
Out, which is what also makes me wonder if like the witch angle is that in the H.P. Lovecraft story, because I honestly don't know, or was that something that you guys created?
It's something that we put into it. A lot of the premise with like I wanted to add with this backstory to this witch is basically there's a story back in New England of a witch who was accused of a crime, and she was imprisoned in a cell, and she was able to get out of that cell, and they didn't understand how she was able to bend space and time. They thought if she could appear over here, then she's able to bend space and time and a dimension and be able to do that. And what if Lovecraft's thing is, what if a witch had figured out how to bend space and time as part of her magic, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what scared people back in the day because, you know, they didn't really understand science or how things work. But just the whole thought that through ritualistic magic and sacred geometry, that some of the places that we have built in this world, you know, like the pyramids and certain places like that are used to channel energy, or they're doorways to different dimensions.
Yeah.
And
that's where I think like astral projections I'm really big on, because like the idea of what if there is just for a brief moment a glitch, and that's where you get to see like a Bigfoot or a UFO. Because it's just like, oh, like there was a glitch in our dimension that allowed the other dimension for just a moment to break through and to see.
What's that movie with Nicolas Cage where he's an astronaut and he is like in time trapped somehow, and he's trying to let his family know his daughter. It was his daughter. He went on a space mission or something.
Oh, it's Matthew McConaughey, not
Matthew
Nicolas Cage.
McConaughey. Yes.
Yeah.
It was
Interstellar.
The Nolan movie.
That's almost exactly like what you're talking about with that whole astral
and that's like the
projection
same thought process of what if there is something, some way that we're behind the veil.
Do you know what I really I like about what we set out to do with this project? Because I've been telling a lot of my friends that we're in our middle of our World Festival run, which will take us into October of 2022. We've got over 100 plus film festivals worldwide, and we've won 5 awards so far.
Oh, that's awesome.
None of them are in the United States, which means this film is pretty popular in Europe and in the Middle East so far, and we've got some Asian interest. Now, the United States, I've been telling my friends that, you know, it seems like we like this real simple formula. A leads to B leads to C. We have a van with 4 or 5 different multicultural people and genders and backgrounds, and they all get knocked off one by one by some silly character wearing a mask. The American audience is spoon-fed the story, and it's easily digestible. Now, European art house horror, stuff like the 70s, like House by the Cemetery, some of the Lucille Fulci, Mario Bava stuff, it just, like Rob Zombie's Lords of Salem, you know, it just wasn't so, hey, she runs in a broken down car and gets stabbed in the woods, and there's like, what is this scene about? Oh my God, it's creepy, it's terrifying, but we don't understand it.
Symbolism.
Yes.
Symbolism. It's why it's why people gave him so much shit for his redo of Halloween. I'm like, look, he just took the concept of Halloween. Everything else he made his own with symbolism. Get off his
Yes.
back.
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand the white horse. Symbolism.
Oh, I still don't understand the white horse, but you keep on
and
going.
I love that we literally. I don't understand the white horse either, but I get it. He does get into his music video points of the story, but to be honest, I like that we picked something more grown up, more adult like material. So you're asking me questions about astro, projection, and these are conversations like that people have outside of like Prometheus and those types of films. I like that. It's us growing up, like the Lovecraftian stuff has medical students and Necronomicon, and it's not just a Jason or a Hatchet.
Well,
No
it
offense to
adds
those films,
science to the conversation. It adds mathematics to it, and that's where it's like you said, it gets complicated. Where we as Americans do kind of like things simplistic. That's why the band that only plays 3 chords is popular, and the tech band is not. It's just we like simplicity. We like catchy. That's what we do.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's so funny that you say that. Like the stuff that's not so easily digestible, like bands like Meshuggah. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
We know Meshuggah.
Okay, they're one of my favorite bands. But the thing is, it's so weird. At first, you're like, "What is this? What is this?" And after you've listened to that album 4, 5, 6 times, you've caught it. You caught the groove of it. Now I know. It's like some films are cult classics because it leaves you something every time that you could look more into. Like I could watch Prometheus again or watch any of my favorites and find something else because it just feels like they tried or it's deeper meaning. I don't know where I'm going.
Well, that was
with
one of the
it,
big things, like when we started the podcast, because it was like, hey, when you revisit some of these movies, that's like you have a fond memory of, and it's like, oh, there's an extra layer here that I didn't realize, or maybe I was just a dumb teenager, and now that I'm an adult, I kind of like get the themes. I can understand what the filmmaker or what the writers were going for.
Well, we kind of have the same situation, and it's one of the things we stated starting this was I don't want to dive into the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I don't really want to dive into the Jason movies. Let me find the other movies, the other ones that should have the light shined on them, put them in the spotlight because you can find, and I'm not disparaging any other podcasts out there, but there are plenty of other podcasts that talk about those type of movies. We're going to do movies like From Beyond, a movie I ignored as a kid because the cover didn't grab me. But I now go, crap, why did I never watch that when I was younger? I would have loved that movie. And we're trying. We did High Tension. High Tension did not do that great, in the United States. But man, if you give that movie half a moment of your attention, it gives you everything that's Friday the 13th, Jace, Michael Myers, everything that's French that needs to be that our filmmakers took from the Italian movie makers, the French movie makers, and showed it to us in like you said, this ABCs of death almost like just here's your protagonist, here's the girl, she's going to survive till the end. Here's your killer, and he might come back. I want more, and that's one of the things I loved about this movie. And it's really hard. We can't talk too much about this movie because we want everyone kind of going into this wide-eyed and open-minded and just being I don't want any kind of perceived notion that you're going to see blood and guts pouring from the walls. You're going to see all of this insanity
I mean,
going
you are
on.
going to see blood.
You are. I'm not saying there's not any of that stuff. What I'm trying to say is go into this movie just open. Just go into this movie not expecting what we are usually spoon-fed, like Bobby said.
No, I think it nailed the tone that it was going for completely. Like you guys
100%
captured it,
100%.
and that was the
Thank
thing.
you.
Like,
Thank you.
Before I'd watch it, I had a double feature night. I had watched episode 1, and then I threw on your movie. So it was a very complete opposite movie night from us.
I have no idea where that one would have come from.
Yeah, so
wow.
I went from okay, we're gonna try episode 1 again to the witch house.
The witch house didn't have Jar Jar, so it's already winning.
I actually ended up liking episode 1 a lot more this time around, but that's because I've rewatched all of the Clone Wars. It makes so much more sense after
I think
you watch
going
Clone
back,
Wars.
we're watching Bad Batch right now,
Yeah,
and
Bad
I'm
Batch
like,
is
yeah,
phenomenal.
I
I need
love
it.
Bad Batch.
Yeah,
So good.
we
You've
just
seen that?
I just
I
watched
love it.
the episode with Cad Bane in it last night, and I'm like,
Oh,
oh, I'm loving this. This just, and again, we're talking about stuff that gets taken from. I mean, that whole Western vibe he has in that
yeah,
show
Cad Bane's
is
the shit.
fantastic. Uh, can we
Anyway,
let's talk a little? Can we talk about a couple things about the movie?
Sure.
I do
Yeah,
want to bring
absolutely.
that in. So,
Absolutely.
James,
Yeah.
visually, and Bobby too, because you guys both kind of went into this. Your idea of how to light and shoot this movie and how you set the mood. What was some of your like thought processes getting into that? Like what made you decide, like we've talked about it's similar to Suspiria, but how did you go about that? What
Well,
was your
well,
kind of plan?
it's funny because that was when Bobby and I first talked after, once I decided to join on the team, and he said, he brought up Suspiria in like the 70s, kind of the horror films from the 70s, and that was the one thing that Italian horror, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing he brought up, and I thought, well, I listen, I'm not the most cultured guy, so I haven't seen a bunch of Italian cinema, and I don't pretend to be that guy.
I've seen
But
like
I know,
five. Don't feel
yeah,
bad.
So
One
I mean,
hand.
I've seen Suspiria, and I've seen some documentaries on some stuff. But so that one stuck in my head, and I just knew. I remember it resonating with me with the color and the kind of the strange camera angles and camera movements, and so going through the script, like Bobby said, he kind of talked me into joining in, and so I just felt like we needed to make sure that it had a cohesive feel as much as possible, and I liked the idea of using the color to light stuff and to utilize these solid colors in different scenes. We tried to keep, when she wasn't, when she's, outside of like a dream world or, dimension, everything pretty much looks normal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what we went for whenever she was having normal conversations or in school and this, that, and the other. We tried to keep it as, look, this is the show. This is your visual cue.
Yeah.
That's kind of what was in my head when I was shooting it. Was I want to make sure we have some kind of visual cue for the audience.
Yeah.
To help them move along.
Well, I can say as the audience in this particular conversation was that did help because in a movie like this, trying to kind of follow her state of mind, I guess we could say, knowing when something's real, and then when something's kind of not real, and then you guys were still even able to give us these scenes of almost like a blur, like even we don't know what she just experienced was what she was actually experiencing. And I did love how, again, it comes back to making the house a character. Was like when she was outside of the house, things were bright, things were vibrant. There's especially one scene, and I'm not going to bring it up, but it's very early on in the movie that is just like in your face, bright colors, sounds, you know, and you're like,
I know what he's talking about.
I feel like I'm watching another. What? Why does this feel like a different movie? As it went through, I went, "Oh, I understand. You're setting these tones, and then when she's in the house, things go back into this almost eerie kind of spooky kind of feel. But then where she's like,
claustrophobic feel
yeah,
to it.
claustrophobic's a good
And
one.
like there's a ritual scene that's very like I'm on acid when watching it is the best way
Well,
to
and
put
that,
it.
what's funny about the claustrophobic, I felt that when we actually talked with Brian Usna a little bit about that. That was one thing that I when we shot stuff that I was hoping that we could have done more of, but we lucked out because all the stuff we shot within the house is very claustrophobic, and the house is huge. But I love the fact that we were able to do the scene we were talking about with the witch, and it's a big, wide shot, and you see the whole room and the floor, and you could see kind of how big it is. Other than that, everything we shot was kind of tight.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever she's in, and we kept it that way. And every now and then as an editor too, I'd go, oh, I needed more coverage of this.
Yeah. I think one of the strong points to his cinematography is his use of motion with that camera in that house. A lot of scenes, it's just two people talking, but he put it on a slider.
Yes.
Or somehow pull you in. You're drawing into the intensity of the scene.
Right. It's like you're like we're talking on the phone and you're like leaning into,
you're being
get a
pulled
little
into
closer. I love that.
You're running through the cornfield, there's just a lot of
Cannot
that.
stand cornfields at night. I've already discussed this before in the past episodes.
We talked about
you hit a
cornfields.
nerve.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't like anything taller than me, so I would just run through the cornfield with my arms out. You would see a path that I would lead in the cornfield. But no, and that's again where you get drawn into this movie, and I felt completely drawn into it. And and I think this is a perfect time. I was going to save it towards the end, but these guys had asked us to provide a quote, which I was like, I have no idea what kind of quote I'm going to give for this movie. And I was talking to James, and it was just us talking on Messenger. He's like, "What did you think about this movie?" And I went, "It's a wonderful fever dream." And we kept talking for a little bit, and I was like, "Well, so we got to do this quote." And he goes, "How about wonderful fever dream?" And I'm like, "Cool," because that's exactly what this movie felt like. And when you watch this movie, it is. But what I was going to save is, and I'm going to bring it up now, is in the story. I had not read the story till probably a few days ago. And it's the story that we're all referencing is called "The Dreams in the Witch House" by H.P. Lovecraft. This is the first sentence. The first, and I had to stop and message James as soon as I read it, is whether the dreams brought on the fever or the fever brought on the dreams, Walter Gilman did not know. And I stopped. I'm like, there's no effing way that's the first sentence. And I messaged James, and I'm like, I sent him an excerpt of it, and he's like, "Oh, that's amazing, dude." And I was just like, that was not planned, nothing else, but that's what came across in this movie. This movie was a fever dream, but not in one of those like I feel sick almost like some movies do. You'll watch it and you're like, I just don't feel right. This is just weird. This was awesome. This was wonderful, but it was a fever dream, the closest thing I could, equate to what I watched. And that's the best compliment I can give you guys, especially since it's the first sentence of the story. I was like,
the first words that he wrote when he was thinking about his story, and you capped it. That's a fever dream.
So, I mean, if nothing else, that you guys captured that in and on film, and I was like, fantastic. I'm going to bring up my second thing because I know James is itching because I've alluded to my question, and it's a sound thing. One thing I hate in movies, and we were all discussing it earlier, is sound effects guys that think every sound effect should work for multiple things. If someone gets stabbed in a movie, it's you just hear the squish or the crunch. But in truthfulness, when you watch a movie and you see the person get stabbed and there is no sound, you see the person get stabbed again, no sound. And until the third or fourth time before you start hearing flesh and blood. And I'm watching this movie because it happens in this movie, and I'm like, wow, they actually went that far into their sound editing and was like, yeah, it's not going to make any sound the first time you stick someone. There's nothing to make a sound. And I just got to say, was that thought through, or was that like intentional? Or was that like a happy accident?
Well, we have such graphic, violent scenes that we've got to really go through each sound effect, like the gurgling, the the stab, like just the person screaming, the breath. There's a lot of layering there, and if one of us thinks it's too much, we'll pull back on it, or if it doesn't, like we literally test the stuff out on each other. Like, that's too much squishing, too much blood, too much bone crunching.
Yeah.
But I think audio is very important, and for some of the things we're pulling off supernatural wise and things, we've got to tell that story with audio, like swooshes and bones breaking and flesh twisting. But you don't want to do too much because obviously it comes across sounding very
it gets
kung
cartoony,
fu-ish,
cartoony, you know. But I was like, it was just one of those things, and we can't, again, spoiler free, we can't get into all of the awesome kills in this movie. But I will say there are some
a certain
fantastic
one in the basement that I was just jumping of joy because I thought it was incredible.
Yes, yes.
And the way that it's shot and the way that it is edited together with spliced with other scenes, yeah, it made a very happy horror geek over here.
We were, even my wife who was questioning watching this movie was still like, that was actually pretty cool. That was
yeah.
An awesome kill.
It was awesome.
Wife approved.
Yeah,
Nice.
so that kill was wife approved, and I mentioned to her during the one scene I'm talking about was, I was like, did you notice there was no sound when they got stabbed a couple times? She goes, actually, yeah. I said they didn't start making noise till later, you know, like till there's blood outside of the body, and she goes, oh yeah, I never even picked up on that.
You know, it's funny, you know, and it ended up working out, I guess, working out in the end of it. But one thing that I kept hoping this was, you know, my introduction into indie horror film production. So I'll be, you know, honest. I was really looking forward to doing a bunch of blood and splatter and, you know,
limbs flying.
Yeah, anything. Yeah. I mean, I wanted, and we, you know, whether or not it was we changed it or we went a different direction or it just didn't work, you know, it turned out, you know, it worked in the end. At least, you know, when we get to hear from you guys, at least it gives me a little bit of like, great, you know, we didn't miss that as much as I did. Like, cause I'll tell you, we had one scene. Here's a peek behind the curtain. There was actually a scene where a character originally got offed, and we actually shot it, and the effect didn't work. And it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and we tried to shoot this scene, and it was supposed to be a blood splatter from one character. You'd see the character. The next character was standing in front of him like a surprise, and then bam, they're hit with the blood splatter. And here we are at 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was, and the effect didn't work. And literally, it was a one-time shot, but we were able to try it twice, and we just couldn't get it to look right and to work. And I always hated that because I loved the scene, and we ended up changing it for the movie anyways and doing something else. But that was one of those scenes that looking back, I was like, man, that was the one scene I was like, man, I wanted that.
Here,
and
I can picture
James.
Movie.
I can picture James in the background when Bobby's talking about a scene of a kill, and he's holding like a 5-gallon bucket of blood.
Oh yeah, I was ready.
Like, now.
But you know, the funny thing is, what changed, at least this is what I'm assuming, one of the things that changed up the amount of blood, if you will, because I've seen some other Bobby's other movies, so there's a lot of blood. But I think it was the house. We knew that we had this character, you know, within the house. We didn't want to damage it.
No, I get
and there's
it.
only so
that's
much
totally
you can
fair.
do. You know, you don't. You know, even if you put a tarp down, you're gonna splatter something or whatever, and it might go somewhere else. And it was one of those things where we just like, you know what, it's not worth the stress, and you don't always need it. You don't always need, you know, the bucket of blood on the face.
As much as we appreciate the bucket of blood, I have to agree though, watching the movie on the whole, I am kind of glad you kind of held back. It made the other ones even more visceral. You know, it made you appreciate the other kills in this movie that much more if you didn't have like the splatter kill. And you know, I love a good splatter kill, but the kills in this movie are done exceptionally well. I will say that.
We tried to keep it as I guess real, if that makes sense. Instead of all the.
Speaking of real, and I'm thinking, why is he saying that sounds so real on those stabs? I know why it sounds real. It's because we went and bought a rack of ribs. We really went and bought a rack of pork country ribs and had her whap. I made sure the ribs was going the right way so she would go through the ribs and not hit bone. And you remember that because it was whap, whap. And then we started adding our blood to it. And that's why you've got such a realistic sound.
Nice.
Perfect.
Brilliant filmmaking
practical
technique.
application. Yeah.
Hollywood, everyone listening right now,
get ribs.
Do that from now on.
I'll make ribs this weekend.
And when you're done, rinse the ribs. Rinse the ribs.
Rinse the ribs. Throw them on the grill.
Yep.
Turn it into craft services, and you're good to go. You don't even need fake. You don't need fake blood. A1 sauce in the dark looks like dark blood too, man. We're good to go.
You know why? You're talking about all the blood. Why is it my two favorite horror films? These are the most classic: Alien and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Very little blood.
Very, very little blood. Next to none. TCM.
But I'm watching.
Next to none.
I'm watching James's eyes light up, and all I can think of is like Dead Alive and stuff like that. He's like,
I was gonna say,
I want to do that movie.
Yeah.
I want all of the blood everywhere.
If you guys ever decide to do the over-the-top blood and limbs everywhere, you can throw like 10 gallons of blood on me. I will be so happy.
Nate's like in. He's like, don't even have to pay me. I'm just here for the blood.
If you want to rip my limbs off, throw blood all over me. I go too far all the time. This is my thing.
I kept thinking, I wonder if there's a place that Bobby could put me in so I get a cameo and I could like kill me off or something.
Yeah, how can I die in this movie?
Well, I'll go ahead and say, because I did ask if I was allowed to bring this up. I saw a cameo in this movie. I saw a face I recognized, even though I didn't really know anyone in the movie. Bobby put himself in the movie, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. We needed we need a little color in the palette in the film, so we want to round it out there, So, yeah,
that's awesome. I'm sitting there watching it. It got to that scene, and I went, "Oh, there's Bobby." And Jackie's like, "Who's Bobby?" I said, "The director. Poster smash." She goes, "Oh, okay." She goes, "Have you met him before?" I said, "No, but I've seen his profile picture. I know what he looks like." I was like, he put himself in. And I asked James. I said, "Can I pick on him about that?" He goes, "Oh yeah." Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Point that out. He'll love it.
There's an actor in here that I have to talk about as well. That's name is John Johnson. Is he a werewolf in real life?
Wow. John is one of those guys that is an auto mechanic, and I think he really missed his calling in life because John was in my Boogeyman movie. He was in my Stephen King adaptation, main character. He was a main principal in the film Belly Timber, where we had these Scottish cannibals running around in pioneer times. He played one of my main army guys in Devil Dogs. The guy is just a solid actor for what he does, and he does have that look, man. With
he
the
has this
hair
presence. Like when he appeared on screen, Hannah and I went, "Oh, that man's a werewolf." Like, come on. Like, dude's a beast.
Yeah, I'll be sure to tell him, dude.
Yeah, you should. I was also, you got some damn fine rats to act in this movie. Every time there was a shot of those rats, I don't know what it was, but they melted my heart.
Wow, Nikki Morrison and her daughter Izzy, who stars in the film, also.
Yeah, so
great.
Funny story there, because we go to Horror Hound so much, we're watching it, and Hannah goes, "Oh, I know that person." And I was like, "Well, which one is it?" Because it's a scene in the college, and Hannah's like, "Oh, that's John Morrison. That's Nikki's husband, Betty Pooch." And it's like, "Oh, we've bought dog collars, cat collars off of Nikki at Horror Hound before." And then, funny enough, later on in the movie, Hannah's like, "Oh, that's Izzy. That's John and Nikki's daughter." So it was pretty cool to see people that we actually knew in the movie that we didn't even know were going to be in the movie. So those were Nikki's rats.
Yes,
that's amazing.
And they were awesome. We had Lydia first. lovely rat. She passed on.
Oh,
They don't last so long, you know.
No, no, I would say not.
Rats aren't like a cat or a dog, so but it was really neat the time we spent with her because she had the most adorable like little rat carrier, and it said star of the show on it, and literally she would be active for you for a minute and then she'd have to nap. She'd start wanting to fall asleep on you right on set, like, look, you guys have fed me so much food, I'm gonna take a nap. But like some of the craziest things, like, they don't like light. They're nocturnal creatures. And so what's the one thing you have on a movie set is you're bathed in all these crazy killer lights, you know?
Yeah.
And we need the rat to act, but you've got all these people with microphones and everybody's wanting to see the rat and lights. It's like the damn spaceship on Close Encounters, you know? And so it was very delicate when you say JD working.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't sure how to. They always say, you know, you don't want to work with kids and animals, so I was dreading it.
Or baby ghost.
Baby, right? Yeah. We're not talking Casper.
That's my next movie, Baby Ghost.
Oh man.
Oh my god.
Hey, you know you liked our poster. We did Ghost 2, The Rise of Slimer.
Yep.
And it's got Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore holding Slimer as the baby.
Yeah, we'll plug Poster Smash. We plug Poster Smash every episode.
I know that. Thank you very much. That's very appreciated. We need to get back into doing it, but we've been a little busy.
And that's fine. And I also like how when Dan will mention something, James usually has something back in the archives. He did the Red Dead Heat, and I was like, that's awesome. That was great.
You're a big influence on us making those posters because it's like we're both artistic people, and when we were confined to our house during the quarantine, we had to have some positive outlet. And then you started give me back my action movies. Like, this shit's cool as hell. And then you liked one of our posters or something. We're like, oh, let's give him this. And then it was like, oh shit, grade our paper, teacher. How'd we do?
All right,
that's how
they got the action movie guys' approval.
Yeah, and I got to make sure. You know, Charlie. I was talking to Charlie, and I made a banner for the Give Me Back My Action Movie Facebook page, and that was a lot of fun messing around with that.
These are one of those stickers you hate because you're like, where do I stick it? You only got one opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's like, it has to be the most important place, so it just sits here until I don't know. I love this sticker.
We've got a Give Me Back My Action Movie sticker that Charlie sent us. Yeah. Mine is on my, I've got a Pelican case with my camera gear in it.
Oh, it's definitely Pelican case worthy.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, there you go. Pelican case.
We'll get you guys some of the updated in. I think we have some Give Me Back My Horror Movie.
Yeah, there's still some horror ones that I've
got. You got the beer fridge sticker level, and you got movie Pelican case level. You're on the Pelican case.
I'll send more than one next time. That way you're like, I can put it in both places.
Yes.
No, but we love the Poster Smash stuff. It goes over great in the group, and who hasn't sat there and thought about, man, what, like, I even made some the other day. I follow another podcast, and they were talking about a James Bond movie that at the end of it, he's bobsledding at the end. And I went, oh, Jamaican bobsled team. So I took that James Bond head and I put it on John Candy, and I made, 007. And then I did a Rambo instead of Crocodile Dundee, and it was like a what if. And it was Stallone starring in Crocodile Dundee with his head popped up between the buildings. So you guys influence me now. So
you couldn't do that with any of the stars from now. That's what the magic of the 80s is.
It would be really hard.
I mean, people love and remember Rutger Hauer. I mean, I remember my local video rental store, there was a Rutger Hauer section.
No way. Like an actual section.
What?
Yes. They had it split up in different action heroes and movies you could watch, and there was a Rutger Hauer section.
That's incredible.
That's what I need, because that's how my stuff is organized in my collection. There's like the Jason Stathams, the Stallones, all this stuff, the Rutger Hauer, because split second, who doesn't love that freaking
Oh
movies?
yeah,
especially if you love aliens. But no, it's great stuff. Well, guys, I know we can't do a Raining Blood, we can't do a Machete, but we will when the movies come out. Nate, were there any other like must ask questions right now today. You got we literally have
Bring it.
the
We have
director,
everything
the
except for one thing.
writer, and the director of photography. I mean, we have the movie sitting here in front of us.
We do. It's the sound, and it's the soundtrack. Because
There you
there is
go.
some really great gothic new wave music choices that were put into this film that tickle my little funny bone for like
I was going to
Bauhaus
say,
and
please
The
keep it a
Cure
little clean.
and
We're a little
Sisters of
blue
Mercy.
sometimes.
Like, it was just that little goth boy in me was so happy to hear these bands that I'm like, I don't know who they are. So I was wondering if there was anyone you wanted to spotlight that you would put in the
Well,
film.
there are some very obscure 80s bands from Europe that were never signed. Like, there's no real anything to find on any of these bands.
Oh.
And there's a compilation of them. So I was just randomly screwing around. And like how if someone had a mixtape of an old garage band from somebody in Ohio in 1992.
Yeah.
And somebody posted some old mixtape and they don't know who any of these guys are. And so we've done my best due diligence to find out who these artists are, and there's no info on them. So I hope that this stuff will stick in the film. But we've got El Creepo in there, and like I told you, Dog Fashion Disco, Knives Out singer. They have a lot of that new wave type. It sounds almost cinematic when you listen to the music. Like,
oh,
it
it's
should
so
be.
cool. I've been wanting to purchase a microKORG synthesizer. That way I could just start playing around with it. Because I'm like, oh, I just want to like make cool 80s synth noises. That's all I want to do in my spare time right now. And
I'm a big fan of new wave 80s stuff. Like, I'm a tattoo artist when I'm not making movies, and it's just so good
I'm gonna
to
have to
listen
hit you up
it.
for some ink then. That's just set 'em.
Yeah, man. It brings me back to the time when these movies were big, like the 80s. And we've got some Heather Hart. She has the song that's playing when the girls are in the car, and she's from Indiana. The guys from El Creepo from Maryland or Virginia area, around your neck of the woods. But they have such a cinematic sound for their music. And what was really neat was we're low budget guys, and they said, well, how much can you afford, And so I threw them a number, and it worked. And they said, great. If you want anything else from us, just to let you know, we just did the soundtrack for the Exorcist Dominion, the Exorcist film. I was like, what? Yeah. So
Nice.
that's really, yes. So
Hey.
do you remember me telling you that about those guys? And they said, hey, next project, please let us know. We'll be totally down to help you. And I don't know if you noticed in the very end that Lock the World Outside song.
Yeah.
It really helps. And it fits because not everybody in this film is who they really are, And that's kind of what he's talking about. And
that is the only spoiler we're going to let slip out of Bobby tonight, because you can.
Yeah.
James has been twitching because he looks at it like, we can't say that. Yeah, wait, no spoilers. No spoilers.
Yeah, I'd love to. I would talk about it all night, because I mean, there's so much stuff that we could get into. But I know that
there's a mountain of stuff that we are having to glaze over. Again, we just want
I would love to be able to talk about how, even some of the shots that we've done and how we planned out scenes and
see, we can't do any of that. Like, I had to edit myself for one scene that's at the beginning of the movie, but I'm like, I can't talk about it.
There's an Evil Dead Easter egg that's in the movie. That's a really great shot that when you see it, you know it.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that literally was brought up on set.
Yes.
That's how when I was talking to Bobby about it, I was like, listen, let's try this. I don't know if it'll work. I said, but we got to try it. Let's try to pull it off just as a little.
Yeah.
You pulled it off.
Thank you.
We're of the generation where we grew up with certain films, so they're naturally going to be our inspiration. It's kind of funny, and doing a lot of research on Lovecraft, on Giger and the guys that made Alien, Carlo Rambaldi, the guys that made The Suit, Lovecraft. That alien and a lot of the design, and Giger was inspired by Lovecraft in making this dark dragon type. So a lot of the things that we talk about, I think, guys, if we don't know how to do something or show our baddie on screen, let's do like they did in Alien, only show it for 6 frames, or let's try to, I don't know if I was always making comparisons to Alien or Aliens, or if Cameron did it this way, let's try to to do this, or like lighting certain, just
that was we tried to do the lighting to, because of the budget we were on, we could only do so much.
Right.
And so we were hoping that if we, whether you sped some stuff up or you use enough fog or lighting, and it would give that mood and hide the imperfections.
That's one of the things I stand on a soapbox in this show is everything gets moved over to Blu-ray, and while a lot of it is good, I feel like it kills some of the older movies because now you're shining a brighter light on something they intentionally wanted to hide that you were never supposed to see, and it cheapened the movie just ever so slightly. And I will die on that mountain of not everything needs to be like crystal clear. Sometimes a little grain and a little grit. And I love that about
Yeah.
this movie. This movie has a very grindhouse kind of feel to it when it needs it. It's bright when it needs to be bright. The story is well thought out. It's well done. I can't wait till we can spoil this movie because there are just I have phrases I've made for this movie that all I do is say the word and everyone knows what I'm talking about.
It
And
moves at a brisk speed too.
Well, I gotta tell you, I really appreciate. I mean, I know Bobby does too, but it's being that I'm not the optimist. I told Bob I struggled. I was afraid that we had missed the mark. I brought it up to him. I said, I don't know. I feel like we might have missed the mark. And we've gotten all these reviews, and we got the film festivals, and it's I thank you very much for the kind words.
Well, let's. I wanted to bring that up real quick, Bobby, if you don't mind. Was you guys are winning some awards? You guys are in the film festivals. You're sharing it almost weekly. Something else has popped up.
It just
What's
sounds
that
so
feel
busy.
like? What's going through your head when that stuff goes on?
It's really humbling because we set out to make this film just to really accomplish the mission, really to get people to feel the story. We didn't think that we'd be worthy of being screened at festivals throughout the world, and let alone winning some awards. It's been a long time coming. I've been making films for 11, 12 plus years now, and it just goes to show, like I tell kids, don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Just because you didn't win today, your stuff ain't that good yet, or just try. Like, listen to when people are trying to tell you something. Listen to JD, when he's trying to tell you how to light this set. Listen to, these people trying to tell you, reshoot that in Los Angeles. Because I would have just thought, oh, run it. Like, you know what I would have done? He made fun of me just kind of being like Ed Wood guy. Like, action, cut, print.
We got it.
Cut, print. We got it. And moving on.
Perfect.
And so it's a total reflection of the team I had this time and the willingness and sacrifices that they made to make sure this was going to be a good picture. He could have said, all right, shoot the shit. I'm going home to eat dinner with my wife when we're done here.
Yeah.
Send me a copy of the DVD. No, but our sales agents, they don't have to help us to the limit that they do. They like us that we're some young, fresh faces, and they want to see more pictures from us. And it's exciting that you guys have us on the show because you're some of the first American voices that we've heard. I know it sounds funny that being from the United States, but these festivals are all in the Middle East and Europe and Southern Europe, and we've got African interest, Japanese, 4 continents so
awesome.
far, and United States, and that's what's really. We made this kind of like an Italian style art house giallo film from the 70s, which would not be popular here stateside. No. But to know that guys like you are digging it and can feel it, that's really important to me. And that means more than a trophy, really, because.
Well, that was a hell of a compliment to us, Nate.
Yeah, no. We're
I don't
praising
know how
you
to
here.
respond to that. But
you know how hard we work. The horror community is so critical on the films that they watch. You don't see people slamming rom-coms and slamming sci-fi films. When it's a horror film, they cut the hell out of it in reviews, and people that armchair quarterbacking like 3 years of our work. It's like, wow. I mean, but when people actually like it from the United States, and I know how critical our fans are, that means a lot to me.
I think we're a little biased. We've been friends for a little while, but this was not like designed because let's get this guy to create a horror group so we can promote our horror movie. No, this was like he convinced me to create a group and then asked my permission to share the trailer. And I was like, obviously you can. We have a horror group. Why would you not share the trailer loud and proud and wide as far as you can? But I'm in some other horror groups, man, and those people can get insane. You guys do the conventions like I do. You see how ravenous they are. The Walking Dead fandom is insane.
Yeah.
And those people get ravenous about stuff. But there are those pockets of people like me and Nate and several others that love. We want indie movies back. We're tired of regurgitated tropes. We're retired of regurgitated movies. Don't remake that movie. Give me
I want
something
original
new.
ideas. I like cool
Well,
new
and that's
stuff.
and
I like
that's
Risk.
something that I learned. That's what I learned from from Bobby when I got into this I guess the independent film community. Yeah, I didn't realize that that like you said, there are the ravenous fans, the horror fans, but the indie horror film community, they're 9 times out of 10, from what I've been dealing with so far, they're very supportive. Like they will help you out when they can. And that was it's kind of nice because here we are doing something that's a little different, a little out there, and me being nervous about it and then getting love back, saying nice job, guys.
Me and Nate went on a soapbox thing about this not long ago about independent movies and about people that are like, we want something new, and you give them new and they're like, no, not that new.
We didn't want that new.
Yeah,
We want
not that
something else new.
Give us something we
Right,
know.
yeah.
No, we didn't want that either.
Yeah, you give them something they know and they're like, you just redid what was already done. It's like, that's exactly what you asked for. And it's like, if you want something new, then you should be filling up your time with independent movies. You should be digging through other things other than the publications from Hollywood that are pushing the next big thing coming out. You should be digging
The
a
next
little
big
bit
remake.
remake. Thank you. Not even a thing. Or retelling. And I don't mind retelling so much, but if you're just rehashing all the old stuff, like I like what you guys did. You paid some homages to the godfathers of horror and people that paved the way for you guys to do this. I'd rather see homages than someone trying to copy or someone thinking they could be the next Cameron or the next whatever Italian director. I want to see your work. I want to see what you put on screen, and honestly, that's what you both did. I see both of you in this movie. Everything I've mentioned without any prompting is what I see the faces. This is one of those things I almost wish we were doing a YouTube channel so people could see how you guys light up when me or Nate would mention something and they're like, oh, they got it. Holy crap,
Plus,
they got it.
Plus, JD has the best hair in the business.
I'm telling you, man. Like I shave mine off, and I told Jackie, I said,
work it.
Yeah,
he's got this coif that just goes
I'm going
on
for.
the
I'm
side.
trying to grow it out. I'm trying to get that Johnny Depp look. That's what I'm hoping for.
I thought it was the
almost
Leon
there.
from Resident Evil 2 look.
Yeah. I told Jackie, I said, we need to shave my hair all the way down. She's like, it's a podcast. No one's going to see it. I said, well, there's at least 3 people that see my head.
Yeah.
When you're 6'5" and look like a Viking, you have to shave your head. That's exactly what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But well, guys, I think we've covered everything we want to talk. Is there anything you two wanted to bring up that maybe we didn't ask, or anything you want to plug? Maybe you're working on doing, or
I would like to just real quick, just a shout out to the cast and the crew.
Absolutely,
because
definitely.
they put in all the long hours, and the actors and actresses in the movie really they really pulled it through for us. And Michelle did a great job. I mean, showing the emotion and her breaking down, and I just think that she did a really great job.
She was phenomenal. Yeah, I'll agree.
I mean, every last one of those girls was asked to get in the freezing cold.
Oh yeah.
Be in the boiling heat. of an attic. They were asked to wear black contacts, thrown, this way, that way, running barefoot on, and they didn't complain.
Yeah.
And that's what I love.
I complained more than they did. I was complaining for them, I think.
No, that's great.
Yeah. JD said, possum died back here 3 days ago. It stinks really bad.
Listen, that was horrible.
Hey, it was. We plotted out, we marked out the shot and blocked it all out and talked about it, and it stunk a little bit. Like we could tell something had kind of died.
Yeah.
This is the middle of summer. Well, we go back to that same spot like 3 or 4 days later with the cast and crew. Dude, that was high-powered smelling. He says, dude, here I am. Let's do it. He's like, dude, it stinks back here. Come on. I say, I think let's move.
Bobby's over there going, use it. Come on, just give me this emotion of
this is another character we didn't know we needed.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, and it's not. I want to point out, it's not that we're purposely not talking about the cast. Again, if we start talking about cast, we start talking about the movie, we end up spoiling the movie. So, yes, the cast was fantastic in this. I loved everyone in it. The lead actress, fantastic. What she did and what she pulled off in this.
Yeah, she really is one of those that walks in the room and just, I don't know where they get it from, this talent that they're not walking in the room like divas, like, I'm here to do this job. They're like, hey, everybody, how you doing? Okay, ready, action. They literally are like, wow, blowing me away with their performances. And, we had an unusual situation, obviously, with COVID and the quarantine, and with most of our cast living, Vegas. We had, Tennessee. We had, 20 miles from Iowa, in Illinois. I mean, literally, Solon was from West Virginia.
Wow.
So we had everybody that we had to literally like tell them, please don't cut your hair. And that's hard with women. They want to color their hair, change this.
Especially they're trapped at home. They got to have something to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and what's funny is our lead actress, now that we're done with the film, her hair is beautiful. It's all long. And I said, oh, my God, why didn't you? She says, you guys had me have the same haircut for almost 3 years. I wanted to grow my hair out. Believe me. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. No, but yeah, again, and I know we're just two podcasters with a small following, but these actresses and the actors and everything made the movie. Without that, this movie wouldn't have worked either. You can shoot as beautiful as you want, you can write the best story, but if you can't get people that can actually bring it to life, it's still going to fail. This one just hit on all cylinders, and
they made it a lot of fun. They made it entertaining, which is what it's supposed to do.
And the biggest star is the house, and I'm sorry, I'm stuck on that house. That thing, I can't believe how the story to get that is my favorite takeaway from this interview, is that house right there.
Yeah, I already looked up where the Hannah house is. I'm like, oh, this might be a little weekend road trip.
Nate's making a pilgrimage.
Yeah, it's like Indianapolis is only 3 hours away, baby.
You ought to come in August when they do the paranormal, whenever they do it next year, because they do guided tours. And
nice.
Knowing us, it wouldn't be too hard to get you in there for an afternoon.
That'd be sweet.
Or to talk to the guy and let you, because he has paranormal groups do overnighters there. So
there you go, Nate.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll come back with my baby ghost finds.
That'll be the premiere episode of Nate's "Give Me Back My Paranormal Activity," and we'll just let him run
screaming
with that
like
one.
a baby.
He's walking through there with a heat sensor and a baby rattle.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is give me a little cry, just a little cry. That's all I need. Well, guys, I want to thank you both for taking the time to sit down with us on our very first interview. There is no guidebook that I would want to read on this. I just wanted it to be you guys talking about getting your mindset into this movie, giving people a look that they're not always going to think to ask. Nate comes up with some pretty wild ones out there, so I'm appreciative of Nate coming up with all the questions.
This is what I'm here for.
That's right.
Yeah, man. Really, yeah.
Appreciate it, and thanks for letting us yak for so long.
Of course.
We're right on time for our people have now realized that it's either an hour and a half or 2.5 hours. There is no in between.
Yeah.
And this is conversation. If the conversation is good, then you know what? Someone's going to keep listening, and it's going to end, and they're going to go, wow, that was 2 hours. It didn't feel like it. So that's how this interview feels to me right now. I'm like, it's over 2 hours. It doesn't feel like an over
No,
two
not at all.
hour, interview. Probably with some editing, it'll be a little under.
Right.
But hey,
Yep.
no blood, no machetes, but 2 thumbs up from me. I'm sure Nate's got 2
2
thumbs up.
thumbs up over here as well. Just keep on. Just do another horror movie, please. I know you got to do this one for the next till October, but give me the next one now.
Do you know, James and I are going to go see old Santa Claus at the mall coming up here in a little bit, and I think we're going to have to ask him to give us back our action movies.
Absolutely. Give us back action.
Yeah.
Give us back our horror.
Horror.
Give us back what we loved back in the day. And I think that's the big thing, like we talked about, that came across, and we all kind of went right back to it, is we love all of that from back then. That's what we want back. We want it in newer packages, but give us that feeling back. And this is one of those movies I can say that does that. You gotta be willing to be open-minded away from the Freddy Kruegers and the Michael Myers and the Jason Voorheeses. You got to be willing to, take a chance on an independent movie, and this is definitely one that I would recommend you take a chance on. And as soon as we can get the release dates for the United States, we will get those out on all of our social medias. We will share the crap out of anything these guys throw at us. You'll be hearing this episode early. Hopefully, you'll come back to it when the movie comes out and refresh. After you, what would be even better is once you watch it, come back and listen to us. And you can actually see, like, oh, I get what they were talking about. Oh, they made a really good point about that. It helps boost my numbers too. But that's just me saying that. But thank you guys so much. Any last things before we close?
No, I just thanks again for having us, man.
I
It's
can't
been
wait
great.
to come back on here, and we'll really talk about. We'll break it down.
We'll break it down. I want to get you. I think we're going to have to get you on.
Scenes.
I think we're going to have to get you in on an action movie or something. We might have to do Aliens. We haven't done it yet. So,
yes.
I think Bobby's got that spot. So
let's talk about Aliens. Hey, and you know what? If you got another night for horror movie night, we can talk about Leprechaun. I'm not afraid of those movies.
Oh, man, if we do that, we're going to space.
Yes. After we go to the hood.
Yes.
And Vegas.
We'll just make one big Leprechaun night. I like those.
Yes, dude.
We did our double feature on the action, and I had a blast doing that because I was like, I could talk about 2 movies. I got to watch 2 movies back to back. I love that.
We'll do
stuff,
8 movies, all Leprechaun.
Yes, dude.
That's awesome.
It'll all start to blur together in our heads where we're like, I don't know. Warwick Davis was, murdering people with a pogo stick.
And then all of a sudden, it wasn't him anymore. And Warwick Davis.
Well, my last thing about I want to say, but in Leprechaun in Space, he's walking around the spaceship and he sees a closet full of spacesuits, adult-sized, but there's one tiny child-sized spacesuit.
Hey, man.
He's like,
That was really for the monkey.
We don't ask questions during those kind of horror movies. We just go, of course there was. There was the mini-me spacesuit. It was ready to go.
Wait, idea, guys. This is going to sound pretty crazy. We make a sequel to Witch House, but it's in space. Is it doable?
Yes. Oh, yes. The Muppets took pigs in space, so I think we can do it.
We'll do witchcraft in space.
We're talking interdimensional rifts and everything. Who knows? One of those rifts could be in space.
We need to wrap this up before it gets any crazier.
You are correct, James. Nate, why don't you get us out on the good word, brother?
Groovy.
Hail to the king, baby.
Frozen Marvin.